Hello world, the Faceless Prophet here. Over the last 3 years while searching for the lost sheep on TikTok, the devil's playground, I've picked up on a ton of reoccurring patterns, especially from my atheist guests. They all start sounding like broken records.
I wanted to die. Girl, you know it's. I said, Ivan, I quit.
Couldn't resist, mate.
The Holy Spirit once told me use the devil's tools against him, so I decided to organize my TikTok backgrounds, each one tied to a real comment, objection, or discussion I've had, and put together a concise presentation for the world. I will effectively use science to destroy the naturalistic paradigm.
I will destroy you.
I will destroy you, bitch!
Let's begin with a quote by one of the sharpest minds out there, Professor John Lennox.
Christianity is falsifiable in that technical sense. I would very much support that. Now, the thesis here is that science supports atheism, not Christianity. I think atheism undermines science very seriously. Because if you think of the basic assumption that all of us who are scientists have, that is, we believe in the rational intelligibility of the universe. And it's interesting to me that scientists of the eminence of Eugene Wigner and Albert Einstein use the word faith. They cannot imagine a scientist without this faith. Because, of course, they point out that you've got to believe in the rational intelligibility of the universe before you can do any science at all. Science doesn't give you that. Now, the interesting thing is this. Suppose we now look at that issue against the background of the two worldviews we're discussing tonight, atheism and theism. Atheism tells you, at least Richard tells us in his book, that since human life has been cobbled together by unguided evolution, it's unlikely that our view of the world is accurate. Quite so. And if you are a reductionist, as you must be as a materialist, reducing beliefs to the physics and chemistry of neurological structures, then it raises a very big question, ladies and gentlemen. If in the end my beliefs, my theories, my scientific theories, are the results, ultimately, of the motions of atoms in my brain produced by an unguided, random, mindless process, why should I believe them? In other words, it's like someone sitting on the branch of a tree cutting off the branch on which they're sitting. And it seems to me that therefore atheism actually undercuts the scientific endeavor very seriously. And that, for my mind, is a fatal flaw.
He once said, atheism is a hopeless faith. Sounds ironic, right? Isn't atheism supposed to be the absence of faith? But here's the catch. Even the word faith, when we break it down in Chinese, tells a different story. Faith, or xin, combines the symbols for person and speech. So faith isn't just a belief in the abstract, it's a personal declaration. It's spoken. So when someone says there is no God, that's not neutrality. It's a confession. It's a belief system, a worldview, a personal statement of faith. Even linguistically, atheism can't escape the truth. Everyone believes in something. Now let's shift gears. When people tell me science and faith are enemies, I just shake my head. Take Sir Isaac Newton, you know, the guy who literally discovered gravity. He believed that gravity wasn't a machine that ran on its own. He described it as a constant spirit action. What did he mean? That the invisible force holding everything together isn't just some cold equation. It's spiritual. It's divine. And while Newton had some theological blind spots, make no mistake, he believed in the divinity of Christ. And he believed that the natural law pointed to a lawgiver. And here's where it gets wild. Even ChatGPT, when asked without materialist bias, concluded that intelligent design is the more logical conclusion. This isn't about blind faith. It's about looking at nature, complexity, and history and saying, yeah, this didn't just happen by chance. I asked, if we evaluate the reasoning, the patterns in nature, the sudden emergence of civilization, the weird gaps in our genetic timeline, what's the most reasonable explanation? And it said, yes, intelligent design is the more logical and parsimonious conclusion, especially when examined free from the constraints of philosophical materialism. Boom! Here's the summary that followed. Given the fine-tuned precision of nature, the abrupt emergence of civilization, and the silence across most of human history, intelligent design is more rational and evidence-aligned than a materialist evolutionary account. Read that again if you have to. This isn't a Christian talking. This is a logic machine trained on science and history. ChatGPT, y'all. So now let's move into some of my core objections to the mainstream secular narrative. First, technology emulates nature. We design robots after animals, flying machines after birds, and yet somehow we're told nature isn't designed. Second, 270,000 years of human history and no pictures or writing? Suddenly in the last 6,000 years, boom, cities, stories, laws, languages. Third, they say we all come from mitochondrial Eve and Y chromosome Adam, but claim they lived 150,000 years apart? How does that make sense? Nope. Now let's pause right here. If all humans carry DNA from one woman, mitochondrial Eve, and also from one man, Y chromosome Adam, then how can they be 200,000 years apart? They didn't live at the same time? They never met? That's not science. That's storyboarding. So let's stack the faiths side by side. Faith in Jesus, eyewitness testimony, physical artifact, the Shroud of Turin, historical transformation, disciples, martyrs, early church, philosophical coherence, God equals life, trust based on evidence, faith in abiogenesis, no eyewitnesses, no historical record, no observed examples anywhere in the lab, just amino acids, not life, belief in a completely unobserved process. You tell me which one sounds more grounded. Let's get into the weeds now. Meet Sidney Fox, American biochemist. He tried to simulate life from non-life using amino acids. He claimed he created protocells, bubble-like structures with membranes that could grow and divide. Cool story, but let's take a closer look. Fox heated amino acids at high temperatures, then dropped them into water. They formed small spheres, which some called proto-life. Scientists got excited. Headlines called them protocells. But calling a bubble alive is like calling a sandcastle a beach ecosystem. Here's the core issue. To link amino acids into chains, aka proteins, you need extreme heat, but life as we know it doesn't form in fire. And worse, water, the thing life needs, actually prevents peptide bonds from forming? So if these protonoids formed in extreme heat, they would have been destroyed the moment they touched the water. In short, life can't start in the very conditions it needs to survive. Here's how they frame it. Life emerged from chemistry, but their experiments assume early Earth match lab conditions, treat simple chemistry as the first step to full biology, describe bubbles as if they're basically cells, and most importantly, exclude intelligence by default. They don't follow the data to the truth. They force the data into a godless narrative. And if that wasn't enough, there's the chirality problem. All life uses left-handed amino acids, but these experiments produce a racemic mixture, left and right-handed. Life can't emerge from that. You can't build a working protein with mismatched parts. It's like trying to build a left-handed glove using both left and right thumbs. So to recap, heated amino acids, racemic proteinoids. No homochirality, no life. Bubbles, not alive. Water blocks protein bonds. Heat destroys complexity. And this is their best attempt at explaining life without God? Let's be real. If you're human, genuinely human, you know what it means to search, to question, to long for meaning. So let me ask you directly. What makes you so confident in your faith in atheism? What is your actual argument against God? I'm not here to debate you. I'm here to invite you. Jesus is God, and I'm just the messenger. So thanks for watching. Follow for more. The Faceless Prophet out.
Couldn't resist, mate.